ACC college hoops from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Our matchup today in the ACC, the Clemson Tigers, the number 20 team in the country on the road, to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. It is so great to have you with us for our game this afternoon. Tom Wormy along with Dan Bonner. And Dan, the Tigers able to maintain their status as a top 25 team without their senior leader, Dante Grantham, out for the season with a knee injury.
Adjusting to life without Dante Grantham is going to be an ongoing process. In the last two games, the Tigers have done very well because other guys have stepped up. But remember, this is a Wake Forest team that just beat a ranked team here on Wednesday. So it's a tough matchup for Clemson.
What a night on Tuesday at home for the Tigers, Dan. They made 15 three-pointers, 7 different players connected from beyond the arc in the win.
Well, that always helps. You can replace just about anybody if you're going to make 15 threes. I think one of the key guys, though, has been Gabe DeVoe. For the second game in a row, he made 5 threes, and obviously the three-point shot has become an important factor for the Tigers.
So with both teams coming off really big wins in the ACC, Dan, your 4 keys to the game tonight, Tigers and Deeks.
We just talked about three-point shots, and so this may seem a little counterintuitive, but I think for the Clemson Tigers, they have to play very well inside. They cannot allow Darrell Moore to really get going in there and light them up. And for Wake Forest, it's like a friend of ours always says when she's sending her kids out at night, make good decisions, and I think that's what the Demon Deacons have to do. They can't turn it over. They have to take good shots.
Great advice from Dan Bonner, moments away from that opening tip. Clemson and Wake Forest for the 161st time for these longtime ACC rivals. We'll have those starting lineups. We'll tip it off. Tigers and Deeks, ACC College Hoops. Official corporate champions of the ACC, Geico. New York Life. Bojangles. Food Lion. And Toyota. Back on the Wake Forest campus as we are at Joel Memorial Coliseum in Winston-Salem for the Tigers and the Deeks, the one and only meeting between the teams in the regular season. The Tigers come in with a record of 18-4. Marquise Reed is their leading scorer, almost 16 points per game. Brian Crawford averages 16 per game as the junior from Silver Spring, Maryland. And Dan, he led the way in that win against Florida State at home on Wednesday with 19 points and 50% shooting from the floor.
I think the main thing he did was play very well under control, and I think that's really important. Wake simply cannot turn the ball over.
9-13 is the record for the Demon Deeks, but that win on Wednesday snapped a 7-game losing streak. Clemson comes in as the number 20 team in the country. Demon Deeks 0-5 against ranked opponents this year.
I said that they beat a ranked team here on Wednesday, but of course Florida State has been in the rankings all year. They have just recently fallen out.
Danny Manning and Brad Brownell send the troops onto the court. Wake Forest in the gray, the Tigers in the orange, and the opening tap is controlled by the Demon Deeks.
Clemson Tigers basically a man-to-man defensive team, and Brian Crawford really likes to take the ball and attack the basket against man-to-man.
Brandon Childress has earned his 3rd straight start for the Demon Deeks. Darrell Moore was contested on the shot attempt and back to the Tigers.
And I think that's very important. You have to prevent Darrell Moore from dunking the ball. About 2/3 of his baskets are dunks. And there's Amir Sims on the inside. He gets the start today. He started 3 times now in place of Dante Grantham, and he has shown the ability to score a little bit inside as well as shoot the 3.
Sims opening the scoring, only averages 3 points per game. Had 6 points and 5 rebounds in the win against North Carolina on Tuesday. That one fumbled out of bounds and will stay at this end of the floor, Dan.
And this is just a play where nobody's guarding Sims on the inside. I think that's Shaundi Brown who just lost track of him. Brown is looking at the basketball, and he loses sight of Sims, and Sims makes him pay for it.
Childress just does beat the count of the inbounds.
Now keep in mind, the shot clock never resets, so there's 7 seconds left on the clock.
Crawford took a peek at it behind the line for 3, and Brian Crawford
shoots almost 37% from out there in ACC play.
148 career threes for Crawford in the top 10 in school history for Wake as DeVoe misses on his first attempt from beyond the arc.
Good pressure by Sean D. Brown right there. Brown's a big kid, 6'6", over 200 pounds. It's going to be hard for DeVoe to get that shot off.
This is Brown going by DeVoe, slashing to the rim and scoring.
How about that?
An advanced move from the freshman there, and now a whistle stops play.
Well, Brown is another guy who had a big game against Florida State. He scored 15. He did it driving to the basket and making threes. And then Brian Crawford, Clemson not paying close attention, and Crawford just stole the inbounds pass. The Tigers were not anticipating any sort of a press, and Crawford just hung around and took the ball. And then he got fouled.
Amir Sims picking up his first personal. Ron Groover, A.J. Desai, Brent Hampton are officials for this afternoon's game in Winston-Salem.
Boy, a really strong start by Wake Forest.
Just adjusted the shot clock to 27 for this Wake possession. Demon Deeks are 6-6 at home this year, 2-3 on their home court against ACC opponents. And that includes that win against Florida State, 76-72 on Wednesday. Turnaround miss from Thompson.
Thompson has struggled shooting the ball, so that's a good idea. Leave him alone.
Working on the inside, Elijah Thomas.
And that's what I talked about before the game, that Clemson cannot simply rely on the three. They've got to go right at Darrell Moore. And Elijah Thomas, as long as he stays out of foul trouble, he's the perfect candidate for that job.
He got to double digits in the win against North Carolina with 11 points and 6 rebounds for number 14 in orange. Trying to stay with Childress on the baseline. Shot clock is inside of 10. Now it's down to 5 down. Poked away from Childress. Reed diving on the court. It goes out of bounds. Will be Wake ball, but just 2 on the shot clock.
They elect not to come and help Darrell Moore, figuring he can use that 7'1" frame to keep Thomas away from the basket. But Thomas really operates well down inside. He can use his strength. He can shoot the ball with either hand. That's a tough matchup for Moore. But it's hard to double team in there because you don't want to leave those three-point shooters open. Only 2 seconds now on the shot clock.
Brown. Thomas the rebound, the first player in Clemson history from the state of Texas at a transfer from Texas A&M. Reed catch and release from the corner. Thompson fighting with it. Darrell came over. Wake ends up with it in Crawford. Wake shot it very well, Dan, on Wednesday against Florida State. 47% as a team from the floor.
Well, Wake's got guys who can shoot it. The key for them is that they can't turn it over.
Childress. Off the backboard and good. Terrence Thompson able to gather that pass from Childress.
It's not exactly the way you draw it up. Wasn't the greatest pass in the world, but nice hands by Thompson to pick that one up off the floor. The Deeks are in a man-to-man as well.
Reed down the lane, lost the handle. Up ahead, Crawford one-on-one against DeVoe. Foul on the play as DeVoe got back to try to impede Crawford.
Boy, that was some outlet pass. And here's the last basket. This ball, I think Reed actually got a hand on it, but somehow Thompson's able to control it. And Thompson is the guy who just made that outlet pass that has led to this Wake Forest opportunity.
Bryant Crawford at the free throw line, the junior from Silver Spring, Maryland. And now Keyshawn Woods will come into that lineup.
And one of the big keys for Wake Forest in their win over Florida State is that they were able to outscore Florida State from the free throw line. They outscored Florida State 18-12 from the line. And if you look at the Wake Forest stats, they are generally badly outscored from the line by their opponents. So nice job by Wake Forest to get to the line, and I think they need to do more of that, particularly with Crawford, who's a great free throw shooter.
Crawford shoots 89% from the free throw line and now has 100 makes from the line this season, Dan, after those 2. Three-pointer at the other end. The Tigers and Shelton Mitchell. And that ends a 9-2 Wake Forest run.
I think you got to put more pressure on the outside than that. The first couple of three-point attempts, I thought Wake Forest did a nice job pressuring the shooter, but wide open by Mitchell that time.
Traveling against Childress and to the Tigers. There is a timeout on the court. Wake has the early lead. This is ACC College Hoops. Your local Ford dealer. By Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. The tools you want, you've got it. And by the Works Hydro Shot, the first portable power cleaner. Ready, aim, clean. The original home of Krispy Kreme donuts. Make good decisions, Dan. Only one donut. 9-7 Demon Deeks. That's what you told me in the open. And I always heed the advice of Dan Bonner, and you should too. Clemson with the basketball, Dan.
That advice actually comes from Kim Weller.
Yes. Well, thank you, Kim. Mitchell with the basketball. Now Thomas stepping to the free throw line.
It's not that Thomas can't shoot that one, but he's much better off closer to the basket. He is a tremendous back-to-the-basket player, and I think that's where you have to attack Durrell more.
Thomas does shoot a great percentage on the season at 58%, despite that recent miss.
Well, that's because he's shooting the ball close to the basket.
Yes. It's all about location, location, location. Woods needs to recognize that shot clock. He does. Got it away. Leads to a bit of a run out for the Tigers. Mitchell all the way to the rim. Shelton Mitchell for the Tigers, and he's got 5 points.
Well, that's got to be pretty frustrating for Danny Manning because it's like nobody even tried to get in front of him. They just ran along beside Shelton Mitchell, and you can't do that because if you don't stop him, he's going to go all the way to the basket. And there we get an illegal screen for Durrell Moore. And this is a problem all year long for big guys. Here's that replay of that last. Looked like both Childress and Crawford had a chance, but nobody got in front of them. But the illegal screening foul is really a foul that big guys pick up a great deal. And with so many teams running their offense based on the ball screen by the big guy, the guard has to be careful and the big guy has to be very careful to get himself stopped so he doesn't get called for the foul. You just hate to see your big guys getting fouls out there.
Chance to take the lead for the Tigers, Marquise Reed. And it's a 6-0 Clemson run to take the 11-9 advantage.
And Reed, Mitchell, and DeVoe have all played extremely well in the recent game, of two most recent games.
20 points for Reed, Dan, in that victory against North Carolina at home, and he connected on 3 3-point baskets, and he comes away with this basketball for the Tigers.
And as always with Reed, the game is on the line. He's the guy who takes and makes the big shot this year. So now we're going to get an offensive foul against Elijah Thomas, pushing off on the inside. Down underneath in the middle of your screen, you see Thomas, and what he gets the foul for is putting those arms back. And you might say, well, there's not really very much there, but that's a point of emphasis for officials. They're trying to clean up play in the post, and so if you're going to put your arms back behind you the way Thomas just did, that's an automatic for officials.
Thomas has come out of the game for Brad Brownell. All the way to the rim, and it's Woods.
And Thomas being out of the game really restricts Clemson's ability to protect the basket. Thomas is an excellent shot blocker, and he's not there, and they've got nobody else in the game who can block shots as Thomas can.
Despite the fact that Woods is not a starter for Wake Forest, he gets significant minutes when he is in that lineup for the Demon Deeks. Shot clock is inside of 10. They'll launch it from the corner, and a miss from Trapp.
Well, in ACC play, Elijah Thomas comes in with 27 block shots in 10 games, and he's not there. And so that clears the lane for Keyshawn Woods as he just goes right to the goal.
Malik Williams picked up that last foul for the Tigers to give Wake possession of the basketball. David Scara enters the game for the Tigers.
So already some foul problems for that inside game for Clemson. And we talked about Clemson controlling that middle, and we've seen Wake Forest get to the basket a couple of times now. That's exactly the kind of thing that Clemson has to avoid.
Trying to get it inside to Donovan Mitchell, who's deflected out of bounds by the Tigers.
That was Clyde Trapp who got his hand on that ball. That was a very nice defensive play.
Fourth year for Danny Manning on that sideline for Wake Forest. Wake Forest competed in the first four of the NCAA tournament a season ago, and now another foul against the Tigers as Mitchell was trying to get position. First on Marquise Reed.
The screen and roll created a mismatch. Wake Forest tried to take advantage of it, and they were able to draw a foul.
Inside of 13 minutes to go in our first half from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Well, it's good defense by Scar.
Brown got the shot away. Trapp will run it up for the Tigers. Mark Donnell is also in there, number 5 in orange.
And Trapp is a guy who has started to get more and more minutes for the Clemson Tigers.
Working that shot clock down to 9.
That was an excellent entry pass.
Donnell trying to use the square. Can't calculate the angle. Ball's going back to Wake Forest, and there's a foul in the process too, Dan.
We're just talking about Trapp, and he makes a very nice entry pass here to Donnell. Donnell has great position, but remember, he's going up against a 7-footer, and Sarr does a really nice job maintaining his position. And then when the shot goes up, he just keeps his hands up. That was a pushing foul against Scar on the rebound. Really good defense so far, I think, by Wake Forest.
Offensive foul against the Demon Deeks.
Talked about making good decisions. This isn't necessarily a good decision. Crawford just puts his head down and he decides he's going to the basket. Nice job by Donnell to get in the way.
First on Crawford, just the 4th turnover so far for Wake.
Crawford needs to take the ball to the basket, but he's got to be under control, keep his head up so that when he sees somebody slide over, he can make a pass to an open teammate.
Yeah, he did have 19 points in the win against Florida State, but also 7 assists to get his teammates involved as well. Reed. A little bit of daylight is all he needs.
Reed can really score. He can score in a lot of different ways. He can hit the 3. He can shoot in the mid-range. He can drive the ball to the basket. He is a guy that you constantly have to pay attention to.
He's got 4 points, averages 15.6 per game on the season. 20 points and 8 rebounds against the Tar Heels in that win. First one for Clemson since 2010. Marquise Reed shakes the defender and knocks it down. Tigers by 2. ACC Basketball is brought to you by Spirit Communications. Our fiber, our network, your business. Back inside Joel Memorial Coliseum for Danny Manning and the Demon Deeks. Trying to limit the Tigers, who are shooting 55% of the first half. Demon Deeks at 40% from the floor, Dan.
The problem for Wake Forest isn't necessarily on the defensive end. Despite the Tigers shooting the ball so well, the problem for Wake Forest is in between that first commercial we had at the first TV timeout and this TV timeout. They only scored 2 points. They took 3 shots. They had 3 turnovers, and that they cannot play that way.
Donovan Mitchell at the free throw line. He is not a frequent performer from the stripe. In fact, that's just his 11th attempt of the season. But
we have more than 11 minutes left in the first half, and Wake Forest is already in the bonus, so let's see if they can take advantage of that.
It's going to be a foul against the Tigers. Looked like Donnell came over the top.
That was on number 5, Mark Donnell, his first on him. So to the free throw line we go, Dan, to your point that you just made.
Well, you know how sometimes you talk about how everybody who has played for a team has scored? Well, everybody who has played for Clemson, with the exception of Clyde Trapp, now has a foul.
Not the stat they're looking for in the first half.
So they've got 18 fouls, and it's 8 different guys who have the fouls, and Brad Brownell is not happy about that.
65 wins in the ACC for Brad Brownell. That is a school record for the Tigers. He's in his 8th season as Childress connects on both free throws.
And again, keep that in mind that with more than 11 minutes left in this half, that Wake Forest was in the bonus. We said that the Deacons, one of the reasons they beat Florida State is they outscored the Seminoles from the free throw line. Well, they have a chance to really run up some numbers against Clemson from the free throw line.
Close in miss, and the tip on the second effort as David Skara stayed with it. First points of the game for Skara. Woods. Mitchell lost the handle. Skara had it knocked away.
That's a kick ball.
It's going to be Wake basketball.
Skara needs to give this ball up. He can't be trying to maneuver against Keyshawn Woods, but he kicks it the ball 3 or 4 times before he finally gets it. This isn't soccer. You can't do it that way.
Although he may have played some soccer in his days. A redshirt junior from Croatia and a transfer from Valparaiso. In fact, his Valparaiso team made the 2016 NIT championship game, but now wearing the orange and purple regalia of the Tigers.
But the Wake Forest players are arguing that there should not be 24 seconds on the shot clock, that they should have a full shot clock.
Ron Groover and A.J. Desai with a quick conversation.
And that's the right, the shot clock is not supposed to start running until you have possession of the ball. Okay, now they still don't have possession, and now the possession doesn't start until it's the kicked ball. So you got to put the clock at 30 seconds.
Quick hands from Keyshawn Woods to knock that one away and create the turnover.
Well, and good alertness by those two guys to understand that they should have all 30 on the shot clock, although while we're speaking of how many seconds, there's 3 seconds in the lane. This game has suddenly become a little odd. 3-second violations, kick balls.
Getting a little weighed down midway through this first half, but we're so glad that you have joined us. Tom Wormy, Dan Bonner, our outstanding ACC College Hoops production crew with you from Winston-Salem. Team in Deeks with just 1 field goal in the last 6.5 minutes.
When yet they only trail by 2.
That's the good news for Danny Manning and the Deacons, trying to string together a couple of quality victories in the ACC. There are very few that are not quality. Ooh. This is Crawford who comes away with it. Woods was driving, had it knocked away. DeVoe was there as well as Donnell. To Spencer. Now back to Childress. Woods thought about trying to restore some order to this game, and then he travels.
I think that whole thing could have been avoided for Wake Forest if Woods just shot the ball. There's no reason for him to hesitate to pull the trigger. Nice job by Childress to steal the ball in the first place, but when you get that ball ahead like that, sometimes your best 3-point opportunities are in transition. And I think Donnell was too far away to affect the shot, but Woods gave the pump fake and then traveled.
You could see the reaction from Woods, and that's exactly what he was thinking. Redshirt junior from Gastonia, North Carolina, and one of the tri-captains for this Wake Forest team. He's a transfer from Charlotte. Tight passing. Childress commits the foul, and Sims is going to the line. First on Childress.
That was a great decision by Elijah Thomas. I thought when he started from the free throw line, he was going to try to take it all the way to the basket. He sets the screen, then it looks like he's set sail for the inside, but then he sees the defense close in and makes a nice pass.
First free throw attempts of the ball game for the Tigers.
And Sims is not a great free throw shooter.
Just attempts number 17 and 18 on the season now, and 8 makes on the year for Sims, who got his first start in the game against Virginia on the road. The result was not great for the Tigers, Dan, only 36 points in that. But Sims had a quality outing as he got the start in place of Dante Grantham in his home state of Virginia.
I think that had much more to do with Virginia rather than Clemson. And there's Brandon Childress. He's really good at that little floater, and I think for the Deeks to be really good, he's got to be aggressive offensively.
4 points for Childress, sophomore from right here in Winston-Salem. His father, Randolph, one of the assistants for Danny Manning. DeVoe draws defensive attention. Shot clock is at 8. Missed from trap.
Well, Childress has been right around the basketball on the defensive rebounding end of the court.
Just 1 for 7 from three-point distance for the Tigers. Baseline jumper. It's good. Brian Crawford. And Wake has the lead, and he's got 7.
I think Clemson needs to try to get the ball inside to Elijah Thomas. They're allowing Wake Forest to keep him out on the perimeter.
Tigers are 7-3 in conference play. And DeVoe with the three-pointer. That's a big reason why, as we told you at the top of the broadcast, they defeated North Carolina on Tuesday 82-78, making 15 threes.
Well, you can't give Gabe DeVoe that much room and that much time.
Offensive glass, Darrell Moore. First points of the game for Moore, Dan.
And he just took that away from 3 Tigers.
DeVoe, an easy layup.
Everybody's playing DeVoe to go the other way and shoot the 3, and instead he just turned to the basket.
5 points for DeVoe. Woods with the kick out. Crawford is open. 3-point basket from the corner pocket. Bryant Crawford. And the lead goes back to Wake Forest. 5 lead changes in this first half.
Great ball movement, great player movement. Defense totally out of position because Wake Forest did such a nice job moving the ball in and out and side to side.
2 attempts and 2 makes from beyond the arc for Crawford.
You can't just play DeVoe. Just shoot the 3. And that's what has happened the last couple of times.
7 points in a hurry for Gabe DeVoe. Senior from Shelby, North Carolina. That one kicked by Sims.
And we talked about the ball movement for Wake Forest. Woods gets it inside. The defense collapses out to Childress. One more pass. The Deeks trail by 1.
Now time for our tweet of the week. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Comes from the ACC, leading all conferences in those Pomeroy rankings. And 10 teams in the top 50. I know you have an interesting breakdown, Dan, about your wins against the various groups of teams in the nation and how that translates to the postseason.
Well, interestingly enough, the Ken Pomeroy ratings for the first time ever this year in the NCAA selection process will be one of the metrics that will be available to be used by the people on the selection committee.
Told you Wake Forest was in the tournament last year. Clemson went in Brad Brownell's first year in 2011. They have not been since, but they are certainly making a case for the postseason NCAA tournament with what they have accomplished so far this year, 7-3 in conference play and off the win against North Carolina.
Think about this, Tom. Last year, Clemson was 2-8 in games decided by 5 points or less in conference play. And there's Darrell Moore. They didn't let him dunk it, and so it's a little tougher shot. This year, the Tigers are winning those games, and Clemson, certainly you got to say about them, they have not blinked. They've had some games that have come right down to the end, and they've been able to make the plays. North Carolina made the big run at them, but Clemson held. Georgia Tech was way ahead of them, but Clemson was able to catch up.
The Tigers have won 2 in a row and 4 of their last 6. They won their first 3 games against ACC competition at NC State, at Boston College, and against Louisville.
Woods, of course, has had some knee problems, and when you watch him play, he does look a little stiff-legged, but certainly that didn't affect him the other night and hadn't affected him so far today.
Yeah.
That's a really nice job on that pull-up jump shot.
Has missed a couple of games this season. Was injured in the game against Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. Fighting through it. Although this is Reed, who stops and misses. Moore pulls in the rebound.
And that's a good play by Reed, but Elijah Thomas stood out at the free throw line and watched. Your big guy's got to go try to get the rebound.
That is Moore. Lays it in from Olivier Sarr. 26-23, Wake.
So Moore down on the other end makes the defensive play that forces the tough shot. And since Thomas doesn't even go to the basket, Moore is free to get the rebound. Then he comes back down on the other end with a conversion. It was 10 and 13, so that is not a good loss for the Duke Blue Devils. But, you know, at this time of the year, Tom, it's just very difficult to go out of conference, I think, and play a game like that. You're playing in Madison Square Garden. Obviously, you've got a big target on your back, and you know, it's just so hard to play in the conference. It's very difficult for a team like Duke, particularly so as young as they are, to go out of the conference and play a game like that.
Gary Trent Jr. led the way with 22 points for Duke, losing to St. John's earlier today. Moore over the top with the board, Dan. Almost 9 per game. 6th best of the ACC. At the other end, Crawford. Difficult shot underneath the hoop. And here comes DeVoe. Childress recovered. He thought it was off of DeVoe. The officials not in agreement at the moment.
Well, of course he thought it was off DeVoe. Let's see if he has a case here. He comes from behind. That's hard to tell there. It may have gone off DeVoe's knee. But DeVoe's lucky there. He was sort of out of control.
There was Woods that stepped in to absorb that contact. Thomas just muscles his way against Sarr, and Thomas a chance for the three-point play.
And Tom, we have been talking about it. Thomas is a guy who can do some damage on the inside. They have to throw the ball to him and let him operate with his back to the basket. Sarr's not going to be able to guard this. Thomas is just too powerful. Pushes him under the basket and then uses the left hand. It's a one-point game.
Basketball is brought to you by Hardee's, home of the $5 All-Star Meals. The beautiful Wake campus with the Demon Deacs up 26-25 on the visiting Tigers, who have won 4 in a row in this series, 9 of the last 10, and then that includes both meetings between the teams a season ago. You can see that the Tigers so efficient from 20 feet 9 inches away. Today, a bit of a different story for Brad Brownell's team.
And I think it's important that Clemson obviously be able to be efficient from beyond the three-point arc. 40% of their shots, not only today but in ACC play overall, are from beyond the three-point arc. But I think they've got to do a better job getting the ball down inside. I'm not sure that Wake Forest has anybody who can really defend Elijah Thomas if he'll get down on the low post with his back to the basket.
60% from the stripe on the season for Thomas, who completes the old-school three-point play. Thomas also had 6 blocks in the win against North Carolina to tie a career high in that win on Tuesday for the Tigers. Childress put it up on the rim, and Moore slams it through.
Moore does a great job getting himself in position near the basket, and his teammates do a great job looking for him and finding him. You know, he's 7'1", he's got long arms. It's hard to keep him away from the basket.
Dunk number 63 on the season. Thomas, Sims, just couldn't get the handle on it. Childress using his teammates, but Shondi Brown got a little too deep under the rim.
That's a great job by Sims. He made a mistake down on the offensive end, but didn't let it affect his play. He got down and made the play defensively.
Reed escapes the baseline. DeVoe. That baby was all net, Dan Bonner.
Nice ball movement in transition. Clemson rushed the ball up the court and moved it from side to side so the Deacs couldn't set the defense. And again, if you leave DeVoe that open, he has shown he can make a very high percentage of it.
8th lead change after that DeVoe 3. Fight for the loose ball is going to be a foul against Wake Forest.
And we talked about Darrell Moore. Just gets down inside and fights his way past Reed and Thomas. Thomas has to be careful he doesn't pick up the foul. And then here in transition, the ball just moves very quickly. And Sarr, he's afraid to get too close because he doesn't want DeVoe to drive around him. But I tell you, I'd rather have DeVoe driving around me than shooting a 3.
Yeah, he's got 12 made three-pointers in the last 2.5 games. DeVoe is 2 of 3 from three-point real estate. Now we're inside of 2.5 minutes to go in our first half. Back and forth. Punch, counter punch, Tigers and Deacs.
Wake Forest is in his zone defense, and I'm not sure that Sarr understood what they were doing.
Mitchell shot that one from Charlotte, Dan, and knocked it down for 3. And the Tigers have their largest lead of the afternoon, 32-28, after the Mitchell three-pointer. Four times the Deacs have won the ACC championship.
So we just showed you that Clemson had started the game 2 for 9 from beyond the arc, but they've hit their last 2.
Moore, a turnaround.
See, I think that's all it takes with Moore. You've got to get him to shoot a turnaround shot. Make him shoot it from 2 feet rather than dunk it.
Reed goes cross court. Thomas, the floater.
Again, I don't think he's a floater guy. He's a back-to-the-basket kind of player on the inside.
Childress tried the fancy dribble. Taken away. 2-on-1. DeVoe lost it on the way up as Reed tried to feed him, and they reset.
Well, each team missing an opportunity there.
Shot clock at 7 for the Tigers. Sims off the mark.
If you're going to get a guy out there to shoot a 3, that's who you want doing it. And there, Elijah Thomas just picks up a silly, silly foul.
Crawford took a tumble. Second on Thomas.
I mean, this is why Elijah Thomas is in foul trouble so much. Just stop. Get out of the way. It's a really smart move by Crawford. He realizes that Thomas is back there. But so what? Thomas has 2 fouls now. And wasn't one an illegal screen and then the other that thing? You know, if you get 5 fouls, if you're in there trying to block shots, that's one thing. But when you pick up those kinds of fouls, it's enough to give your coach gray hair.
5 points for Thomas now on that bench. Couple of rebounds. And he's 2 for 5 from the floor with Crawford. One of the most accomplished free throw shooters in all of the league at the free throw line. 89% of the season for Crawford. He's on the Bob Cousy watch list for the National Point Guard of the Year in college basketball. Inside of a minute to play in the first half. 2-point lead for the Tigers. It's a lot of dribbling from Reed. Has to go to the deck to try to save it. Donnell runs it down. Shot clock is inside of 10. Pass intercepted. Childress on the drive.
Well, that's a good play by Donnell. Childress has really disrupted everything out there. Particularly in this last possession, but Childress doing a great job defensively, just disrupting what Clemson is trying to do.
Mitchell wants to direct a little traffic. Sims thought otherwise. 15 on the game clock, now 7 on the shot clock. DeVoe, not bashful.
Wow, that was deep, and that's with a 7-foot guy standing in front of him.
13 points for DeVoe in the first half. Just connected on his third three to beat the horn. And the miss. So the Tigers create their largest lead of the first half thanks to Gabe DeVoe. Dan, 13 points, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc. So the Tigers go to the locker room with the 35-30 lead on the Demon Deacs. Halftime from Winston-Salem is straight ahead. This is ACC College Hoops. From Joel Coliseum with the Tigers ahead 35-30. Told you that DeVoe was the leading scorer in the first half. Well, DeVoe in the last 7:53 had all 13 of his points. Bryant Crawford led the way scoring for Wake in the first half, and DeVoe will put it in play as we start the second half. Dan Bonner.
One of the big keys for Wake Forest in their win against Florida State on Wednesday was Sean D. Brown had a big offensive game for him, and he only had 2 points in the first half, so they'd like to get him a little more involved if possible. Now there's Sean D. Brown. He got involved, but in exactly the wrong way. Gabe DeVoe certainly got their attention, making those threes right at the end of the first half, and you want to defend him, but not quite that aggressively.
Second foul on Sean D. Brown. And again, the Tigers just attempted 3 free throws in the first half.
Another thing to watch for here early in the second half is can Elijah Thomas avoid picking up that third personal foul?
One more coming for DeVoe, fouled on the three-pointer.
Boy, DeVoe has been so solid over the last 2.5 games now for the Clemson Tigers.
76% of the season for DeVoe from the free throw line. And now the 8-point lead, the largest of the afternoon for the Clemson Tigers.
And the Tigers stay in the man-to-man.
Pass threaded to Thompson. Cannot finish it off, and Reed will chase it down.
And that's one you just have to finish if you're Thompson. Boy, that's a tough pass. A very, very tough pass.
It's going to go back to Wake Forest.
And that's a nice play by Thompson. He missed an easy shot, but he didn't hang his head. He got down the court and disrupted that play.
Wake has lost the last 4 in the series. Teams played here December 31st of last season with a 73-68 Clemson win. Tigers also won in Clemson, South Carolina, 95-83 against Wake a season ago. Childress.
That's his first three-point attempt of the game. He's now got 7 points, and certainly that's another source of offense that the Demon Deacons would like to tap here in the second half.
31 threes on the season for Childress. Averages close to 10 points per game. DeVoe put on the brakes, the pirouette, gives it up. Miss from Thomas.
Again, I'll say it's not that Thomas can't make that shot. He can, but if you're Wake Forest and Thomas is going to get the ball and shoot it, you'd rather see him shooting it from out there.
Moore from his comfort zone. Mitchell on the handle near midcourt. DeVoe is still down behind the play. There was a foul called. Second personal on Crawford.
Right side of the screen, DeVoe going up and just landed awkwardly. It looked like he might have landed awkwardly on that right knee, but it doesn't seem to be any worse for wear. Of course, that's easy for me to say.
Got his career high at Georgia Tech with 25 points for Gabe DeVoe. 17 in the win against North Carolina. And as Dan mentioned, a consistent score and a very integral part of this Clemson Tiger success.
Tom, isn't it odd? The first half started with Clemson fouling early and often, and here in the second half, it's Wake Forest fouling early and often.
See Gabe DeVoe. Those three-pointers he has added to that total today. 3 of 4 from beyond the arc. And we told you all his points condensed in about an 8-minute segment to finish the first half. This is Reed. Just kind of nonchalantly, Dan, for 2. They'll lull you to sleep out there.
Well, now, Reed is a guy who's always looking to score, and I think one of the things he's done very well this year so far is he hasn't really tried to force it a great many times. When you got a guy that has a scorer's mentality who's willing to let the game come to him, he can be very, very dangerous.
20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. All team highs in the win against North Carolina. That shot clock is down to 3. Woods will beat it with a three-pointer. He's up to 7 points. Trying to get in behind the defense is Mitchell out of bounds, and
that's going to be, I think they're going to change that. Now, they called that last one that Reed took a 2, but he is clearly behind the three-point line. We'll see if the officials review that at the TV timeout and add a point for the Clemson Tigers, but right now it's 40-36. It should be 41-36.
Wake with the basketball.
They're a little removed from the action here. I did not see whether the officials signaled that they were going to go review that one or not.
Three-pointer, Olivier Sarr.
Boy, what a nice response by Wake Forest after falling behind by 8 points. And Sarr is a guy who can shoot the three. He's a high-percentage three-point shooter.
His 6th make from beyond the arc this season. Mitchell misses. This is Woods teeing up that 3. Moore able to get a new possession. Alley-oop. Crawford. Sarr bending that rim. And now Wake Forest on the scoreboard right now has the lead, Dan, 41-40. But again, that three-pointer by Reed is in question right now. It was ruled a 2.
Well, it's in question by us. But as I said, I don't know whether the officials signaled that they were going to go look at it or not.
Okay, we'll watch for that as DeVoe tries to knife his way around the perimeter to Reed. Short. Deflected off of Thomas out of bounds. And Wake basketball. Alley-oop, and on the business end, Olivier Sarr. The feed from Crawford. It's a tight one in Winston-Salem. Our fiber, our network, your business. Wake Forest and Clemson. And we have adjusted the scoring, Dan. They did give Reed that three-pointer, so we're tied at 41.
Wake Forest has done a nice job. They forced a couple of turnovers here early in the second half. And in the first half, the Deacs made 2 three-point baskets in the entire first half. And already here in the first 4 minutes of this half, the Deacs have made 3 three-point field goals. So just as we saw Clemson pull away in the first half on the strength of threes, the Deacons have come right back and gotten into the game and tied it on the strength of their three-point shooting ability.
Further evidence, Dan, of the closeness of this afternoon's matchup. Tigers are 15 of 33 from the floor. Wake Forest 15 of 32 from the floor, and they have possession.
The strange thing is we've got 15 made field goals, but only a total of 10 assists in the game.
Sarr. He was challenged.
He was challenged by Elijah Thomas, and Thomas just picked up his 3rd personal foul.
I think he got clipped in the face as well, Dan, for his efforts.
Well, he did get clipped in the face, and that is that's the worst of all worlds. You get smacked in the nose, and you pick up the foul. Oh, it's not the nose, it's the cheek, and there's some blood there.
So with 3 personal fouls, he'll need some medical attention. Coach Brownell coming to meet him at midcourt. So Donnell will come in for Thomas.
Now again, I understand the desire to make a play right there if you're Thomas, but you have to realize you've got 2 personal fouls. Maybe just let that one go. And again, that's his 3rd personal foul, and that's the first one that he's gotten on the defensive end of the court.
So Thomas gets some attention from the training staff on that Clemson bench area. Olivier Sarr, the freshman from Toulouse, France. The 7-footer, 61% from the line on the season, 1 of 2.
The Deacon defense here, for the most part, in the second half, particularly during this little run they're on, has done a nice job disrupting what Clemson's trying to do on the offensive end, making it very difficult to pass the ball. Good pressure on the ball.
The run is 9-0 Wake Forest, and a 1-point lead for the Demon Deacons. DeVoe, the quick release. Fight for the rebound, won by Crawford. Childress thought about that three. Ran into Skara, recovered the basketball.
Nice job by Skara, moving his feet.
Childress. Short. Moore.
That's great hands by Moore. That ball came straight down.
Woods on the spin, trying to get that shot away. Gets it to Crawford. Moore! To the line, to Raul Moore.
And the other thing the Deeks have done here in the second half is dominate the offensive boards. Moore does a great job getting around Donnell. Donnell has to do a better job blocking out than that. You can see at the bottom of your screen, Moore didn't make any great moves. He just stepped right around Donnell and went to the basket.
Sarr tried to get the Moore miss.
And he's going to be called for over the back. That was a better job that time by Donnell blocking out.
So Sarr, who has 6 points during the Wake Forest run, picks up the foul, his second.
So Brad Brownell really struggling to find a lineup, particularly on the inside, that's going to get anything done. Sims and William are in the game now. Skara and Donnell go out.
0-point stand in the last 3.5 minutes for the Tigers.
You would expect if the Tigers are going to break this streak, it's their guards who are going to do it, and there you have it.
Double digits for Reed with the three-pointer. He's got 10 points.
With Grantham out of the game and with Thomas on the bench in foul trouble, the main weapons out there for the Tigers are Reed and Mitchell, and obviously DeVoe.
20th time this season, Reed has gotten to double digits. Sarr launching a three. Ball available. Ended up with Sarr. Score it!
Sarr does a great job coming to the basketball. He did. I thought when I watched it live, it looked like he may have shuffled his feet, but I think he kept his pivot foot there. But he missed that three-point shot, and he didn't stand there and watch. He went after the rebound, and it wasn't your classic offensive rebound, but he'll take it.
That old-school basketball axiom, Dan. Follow your shot in certain instances or all the time? What do you think?
Well, I think what you have to do is make yourself useful all the time, and if it's by following your shot, that's exactly what you do.
Just make the shot at the beginning. Tough shot there.
Again, very good defense.
Wake's on a 14-3 run. Up 47-44, and the Clemson Tigers, the number 20 team in the nation, the Tigers in the rankings for the last 5 weeks. Baseline miss. It was Thompson. Whistle as Reed was dribbling.
Thompson picks up the foul. There's a lot of activity going on off the ball on the interior. And that's the 15th foul for Wake Forest in this half.
So Trapp comes in yet to score in the game for the Tigers on 2 3-point attempts. He'll trigger that inbounds.
Well, the Tigers got themselves behind in the first half and were able to battle back. Let's see if they can do it again. And mainly they did it because DeVoe got hot at the end of the half.
Reed. Tip Sims had the position. So that's 5 points for Sims. It's a 1-point game.
That really helps the Clemson Tigers if they can establish any kind of an inside presence at all.
This is Woods. DeVoe. Chance to take the lead for the Tigers. Trapp on the drive, ran into Sarr. That's the third foul on Olivier Sarr.
Well, the one thing you have to say about Trapp is he is not the least little bit shy or afraid. He gets the ball and he attacks. He is not out there to be a spectator. He's out there to be a participant.
Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule, brought to you by the North Myrtle Beach Convention and Visitors Bureau for the Clemson Tigers.
Well, there's no such thing as an easy schedule in the Atlantic Coast Conference, but Duke at home, at Florida State, at Virginia Tech, that is a pretty tough road for the Clemson Tigers.
A couple of free throws from Clyde Trapp, the freshman from Eastover, South Carolina, as they mend Elijah Thomas on the Clemson bench.
Well, they can tape up his cheek, but they can't tape over the fact that he's got 3 personal fouls.
His previous free throws gave us our 10th lead change, and we've got a foul at this end of the court. Second foul on Marquise Reed.
That's a nice job by Crawford. We showed you in the first half, we told you in the first half that Crawford got in trouble putting his head down and driving the ball to the basket. That time he had his head up and did a nice job drawing the foul.
Woods, a little bit of daylight is all he needs. The 2-pointer out of the corner for Keyshawn Woods, and 9 points.
And 5 of those 9 points here in the second half. So we talked about Wake Forest needing some offensive help, and Woods has provided it.
Tried to work defensively on the bigger Donnell. Shielded him off. Donnell gets it back for a 3-pointer.
Donnell, of course, the graduate transfer from Michigan, and that is his reputation, has always been his reputation as a 3-point shooter.
His first points of the afternoon, Dan. 12-3 of the season, although he shoots 50% on the year. From beyond the arc, one out of the corner. That's a 3. Looked like Donovan Mitchell.
So Mitchell played only 3 minutes in the first half and didn't score. So the Deacons getting offensive contributions from a lot of different guys.
First points from Mitchell.
Oh, how did that ball win the basket?
And now the horn goes off.
The scoreboard still shows the score is 48-47 in favor of the Tigers.
So the difference, Dan, is the middle overhang scoreboard is accurate. Well, we'll get this all sorted out in just a minute and get everybody on the same page. Marquise Reed against 2 defenders. Comes your way Wednesday night as the second-ranked Cavaliers of Virginia travel to Tallahassee to take on the Seminoles of Florida State. Coverage begins 7 o'clock Eastern. Don't miss a single play. Virginia, which will be on the court later today in about 30 minutes at the Carrier Dome, putting a 13-game winning streak on the line for the Cavaliers.
You're talking about tough schedule. Virginia at Syracuse today. Then they have to go down to Tallahassee.
Florida State is at Louisville also at 4 Eastern today. Here's the upcoming schedule for Wake Forest, brought to you by the North Myrtle Beach Convention and Visitors Bureau, Dan.
So we finally got all the scoreboard stuff straightened out. You know, if we were an old Carmichael Auditorium, we wouldn't have to worry about it. We used to have the numbers there on the corner of the court that they would flip over on flip cards.
Dan, I don't remember those old scoreboards. You know, that was a long time ago.
That wasn't actually a scoreboard.
Oh, sorry. So we've got it straightened out at 53-52 and 14 lead changes in our game, Dan Bonner. Woods had it stripped away, but a whistle stops play and a foul. Third on Marquise Reed.
And that's a big foul right there, too, because Reed is so important to them offensively. You know, he's their guy at the end of games.
And he's coming out as Mitchell comes in to replace Marquise Reed.
So some big minutes out there now for Trapp, with Reed having to go to the bench with 3 fouls with almost 11 minutes left in the game.
Also 12 points for Reed. It was a saving grab by Mitchell. Woods trying to help him out. They'll go back and forth. Mitchell misses. Shawnee Brown at the rim looked like Donnell.
I thought Donnell did a great job that time.
Donnell's a big presence, Stan. 6'9", 232. Trapped to the rim. Second effort. Bounces out. Mitchell was able to grab it and give it up to Crawford. Woods fouled on his way to the rack.
And that's Amir Sims who's going to pick up the foul.
Second on Sims, 6 on the team, Dan.
Now, Wake Forest, particularly with Elijah Thomas on the bench, have been able to get the ball into the lane, drive into the basket, particularly Keyshawn Woods. You know, you get the shot blocker out of there, it sort of opens up the lane.
First free throw attempt of the game for Woods. There's Thomas on the bench for the Tigers. And now Woods is up to double digits with 10 points. 83% from the free throw line this season for Keyshawn Woods, the redshirt junior from Gastonia, North Carolina. Brown out, Childress in. And 10 minutes and 1 second to go. Tom Wormy, Dan Bonner, our outstanding ACC College Hoops production crew with you from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The one and only meeting this year between the Tigers and the Deacs, and the Tigers have won 4 in a row in the series. Here's DeVoe for 3.
Well, he doesn't need a lot of time or room. Has good movement without the ball, and a nice job by Trapp to get him the ball in the perfect position to let it go.
19 points, Gabe DeVoe. Woods, nifty dribble, swooping to the goal. Keyshawn Woods, 13 points. 56 all. 10th tie of the game. Sims extending the range.
I'm not sure that that's a good idea for Sims to extend the range.
Mitchell, a 3. Wake Forest, 59-56.
Well, how about the contributions by Mitchell? He's now got 6 points, all of them in the second half.
Wake Forest, 50% from three-point distance. First it's Woods on the interior. And then on the edge, Donovan Mitchell. 3-point Wake lead. 56 inside of 9 minutes to go. Coming up this week on ACC All Access, Marvin Bagley III. Our analysts talk about the freshman's huge impact, not just on Duke basketball, but the entire ACC. Plus, a preview of all the major matchups across the conference. Check local listings on your regional sports networks. Tough loss for Bagley and his teammates earlier today, Dan, to St. John's. They lost at Madison Square Garden 81-77.
And Brad Brownell obviously feels that this is the key time of the game because both Reed and Thomas with 3 personal fouls are back in.
DeVoe
did not catch that one cleanly. I thought he was looking to shoot it, but it wasn't a really good pass, and he wasn't able to get it up on the board.
DeVoe on the drive as the shot clock was winding down. Gabe DeVoe, Dan, has 21 points on the afternoon here at Joel Coliseum.
And with these guys in foul trouble, Brad Brownell electing now to go to a zone, a 3-2 zone look out there. They've been in man-to-man the entire time.
Keyshawn Woods has 9 of the 13 second half points for the Demon Deacs. Wake 10 of 20 from the floor in the second half, and here's Crawford.
Well, Wake has made 5 3-point baskets in the second half. They have 5 offensive rebounds that they've turned into 7 points.
Reed. Thomas. Mitchell got it and then recovered the loose ball.
Really good defensive play Darrell Moore came over to help, so it's basically a 2-on-1, and Thomas has to recognize that and find the open man. When the defense collapses on him, he's got to kick it out.
Crossover from Woods. DeVoe behind the head rebound. Pass was deflected. Reed got it. Mitchell pumping up the three. Brown does not have the numerical advantage, but a foul as Reed collided with him.
Reed has to get out of the way, and that's 4 fouls on Reed.
Foul is off number 2.
Despite the foul, Gabe DeVoe. What a drive from DeVoe. Leads everybody with 21 points today. Cast position in beautiful Joel Memorial Coliseum.
Tom, and Marquise Reed just picked up his 4th personal foul, and there's 7 minutes and 8 seconds left in the game, and I think that's critical for the Clemson Tigers. Keep in mind that in 5 games this year that Tigers have won where it's been the margin has been 5 points or less. Reed has scored 35 points total in the last 5 minutes of those particular games. Now, he remains in the game with 4 personal fouls, and I think that's because Brad Brownell knows how important he is. He's the guy who makes the big shots for them at the end of close games. So he's got to be very, very careful right now. Let's see if Wake Forest really tries to attack him.
So it's Bryant Crawford at the free throw line.
That's exactly who you want at the line.
He's now 5 for 5 from the stripe. That ends a string of the last 15 points coming from bench players for Wake Forest. They have outscored Clemson 28-7 in bench points, and Keyshawn Woods a big part of that for the Deeks. He's a guy who really plays starter minutes, even though he's not in the starting lineup.
Well, a big factor guy who does not play starter minutes for Wake Forest is Donovan Mitchell, and he's got 6 points here in the second half. He's only played 5 minutes, and he's in the game right now.
61-58. Inside of 7 minutes to go in regulation. DeVoe at the free throw line. Angular rebound. Run down by Thomas. Reload from DeVoe. That's a 3-ball.
Well, you don't want to give him a second chance, that's for sure. How good has he been? That's 3 games in a row where he has made at least 5 3-point baskets.
11th tie of the game, thanks to DeVoe with 24 points. And DeVoe has scored the last 8 for the Tigers. And he pulls down that rebound.
And again, the Tigers are playing in that zone.
Chance to go in front for Clemson. Reed pass, Crawford pass the help, and Mitchell off the glass, Marquise Reed.
And that's where Reed is so good. And remember, he's got those 4 personal fouls. I think if you're Wake, you got to go try to get in front and see if you can take the charge and get him out of the game.
Reed's got 14 points.
And we're not even to that point where the last 5 minutes of the game where he's deadly.
Mitchell for 3.
Wow! How about that? Talk about the element of surprise. He only played 3 minutes in the first half, did not score, and he's got 9 points in the second half.
3 for 3 from long distance for Mitchell. Came into the game, Dan, with just 8 makes from beyond the arc all season. Shot clock at 7. Shelton Mitchell. Difficult twisting shot. It's going to be a shot clock violation.
You know, the Clemson Tigers on a switch off of the screen and roll, they had Elijah Thomas down inside, matched up against one of the smaller players for Wake Forest. But the Tigers were not able to find Thomas inside. Thomas, I think, is worried about those 3 fouls, maybe not as aggressive as he needs to be in those situations.
Crawford, mid-range.
Better find DeVoe.
Mitchell, another difficult drive. It's too strong out of bounds. And off of Wake Forest.
Darrell Moore does a very nice job contesting the shot. And there's Mitchell. It looked like he might have been called for over the back right there, but the ball did go off of his hand. That might be one of those plays that in the last 2 minutes you review it, but it looked to me like it went off the hand of Mitchell.
And you just saw Mitchell come out of the game. He's got those 9 points.
He's been fabulous.
3 for 3 on three-pointers for Mitchell. Now a spectator supporting his teammates. Thomas backing down on Moore. Well defended by Moore in the outlet to Woods. Three-pointer. Rattles out from Childress. Thomas has the clearance to Reed.
Boy, that was a big turning point right there. Let's see if Clemson can take advantage.
This is Reed. He cannot. Got his shot back. Tried to get it to Mitchell and did. Right back to Reed.
They
got
fouled him.
Buried. Crawford ran into Reed for the personal foul. So it'll be on Crawford. 1 point lead. Wake Forest late in this one.
Really needed some help from three-point range, and so why not Donovan Mitchell, a young man who has, before this game, had not made a three-point basket in ACC play. He's made 3 today. In fact, in 10 previous ACC appearances, he has a grand total of 17 points, but he's got 9 points in this game, all of them coming in the second half. The problem right now for Wake Forest is they just put the all-time leading free throw shooter for the Clemson Tigers on the line for 3.
89% of his career for Marquise Reed. Best in school history.
Well,
he's getting one more because Crawford fouled him on the three-point shot attempt before we went to break. His free throw can tie us at 64 late in the second half. The shooting background does not bother Marquise Reed. Now 16 points for Reed, the redshirt junior, and the transfer from Robert Morris. In fact, he's over 1,000 points for his collegiate career combined, Robert Morris and Clemson. 65-64.
Clemson trying to match up out of his zone.
Crawford on Skara. Woods is the safety valve. Moore gets another rebound. He's got 11. 6 straight games. Double-digit rebounds from Moore. Here's Crawford. Tried to use the glass. Thomas runs it down for the Tigers and flips it to Reed.
Boy, the Deeks had a couple of chances, didn't they? There's a couple of flurries. That missed three-point basket by Childress that was wide open, and then the inability to convert right there. So a couple of opportunities the last few possessions where Wake just not able to convert, and there you're going to get a foul. So Childress picks it up. Again, he's trying to cover Reed, and you understand that. As we said, in the last 5 minutes of games, Reed is very, very effective. But now he goes back to the line for a one-on-one. Oh, my. So he's now missed 2 out of his 4 free throws. That's the front end of a one-and-one.
Then the last points for Wake came at the 5:39 mark.
This zone defense, I think, has affected Wake Forest.
Thomas on the weak side, another rebound.
The Tigers have done a really nice job matching up out of the zone. The Deeks have not been able to drive the ball into the lane.
Elijah Thomas has 7 rebounds. That leads the team for the Tigers. Skara got tangled up with Crawford.
They're going to call a foul. Is that on Crawford or on Mitchell? Crawford runs into him.
It is on Crawford then, and his 4th.
So now Crawford with 4 fouls, Reed with 4 fouls. So each player has an extremely key backcourt guy in foul trouble. Scarry, pretty good free throw shooter. He doesn't go to the line very much. He's now 5 of 6 in ACC play, is Scar.
Just attempts number 12 and 13 on the season for Scarra, who makes them both. Some Tiger fans have made the trip from Clemson, South Carolina, to see their Tigers take a 67-64 lead as we close in on the 2-minute threshold of regulation.
Again, Wake Forest having a difficult time trying to penetrate this zone.
Moore backing down on Thomas. Free throws coming from Moore. We haven't seen a field goal, Dan, in over 4 minutes from either team down the stretch.
Each team really turning it up on the defensive end. And this is exactly what you have to do if you're Elijah Thomas, other than drop that arm and commit the foul. If he just keeps his hands up, he doesn't get called for that foul. But what we have seen from Darrell Moore, if you force him to shoot a 2 or 3 or 4 foot shot, he is not as effective as he obviously is when he's dunking the ball. Big free throw.
So now Thomas for Clemson has 4 personal fouls. Darrell Moore just 44% on the season from the free throw line for the junior from Atlanta, Georgia.
And he's under 30% in ACC play.
1 of 2 for Moore. It's a 2-point game. Tigers have the basketball. 1:50 to go.
Obviously the key for Wake Forest, you play good defense without fouling.
Hand off to Reed. Recovers and scores. It's a 2-point bucket for Reed. 18 points.
Well, he makes big shots.
Keyshawn Woods. Beyond the reach of Donovan Mitchell. And Reed almost gave it back to Woods on a nonchalant pass.
Now, you don't want to be conservative here if you're Clemson. Run your offense, you get a good shot.
Capable hands of Marquise Reed. He has to give it up. Scarra's wide open. Moore pulls in the rebound. Final minute of play. Rebounds in the game for Moore.
Got to figure out a way to get inside that zone.
Crawford missed the 3. Reed got the rebound, immediately fouled by Woods, and that was a long-distance 3 from Bryant Crawford.
Wake Forest is trying to tighten it up on the defensive end. Moore not able on that switch to get to Reed in time. And Reed makes another big shot. Now, he's going to go back to the free throw line where, interestingly enough, he has not been overly successful today. Now, you mentioned almost 90% of his career. He's only 2 for 4 today.
18 points. Marquise Reed, 7 of 13 from the floor, Dan. 2 of 6 from three-point range, but as you mentioned, just 2 of 4 from the free throw line. 69-65, 40
Reed
seconds to go.
has 14 of those 18 points in the second half. So in this second half, Gabe DeVoe has 11 points, and Marquise Reed has scored 14 so far. So they have been the key guys for the Clemson Tigers, and that's no big surprise. They're the key guys for the Clemson Tigers all the time now, particularly now that Dante Grantham is not in the mix.
Now Wake Forest on its last possession, Dan, had to almost settle for this long three-pointer from Crawford.
Well, there's still time on the shot clock, but Wake has been so frustrated trying to get the ball inside the zone. I think Crawford just decided he had an open one, and Crawford has some range, maybe a little too long.
I went close to 25 or 26 feet away from Crawford.
But, Tom, let's go back to what we said were one of the keys to the game. The key for Wake Forest was to make good decisions, and I'm not sure that decision by Crawford was necessarily a good one.
Exactly. 10 of 24 three-pointers. This follows up the effort against North Carolina on Tuesday when the Tigers made 15 three-pointers and snapped a 10-game losing streak against North Carolina. First win against the Heels since 2010. Dan, since the 7:08 mark on the clock, Wake Forest just 4 points.
Now, the Deacs have had a couple of open shots.
So Reed at the line. If Clemson can hang on, Dan, they would be 3-3 in conference play away from Clemson, South Carolina. Most impressive.
Well, remember what we said last year in games decided by 5 points or less in the conference, they were 2-8. They've turned that around this year. They're winning these types of games. And I'll tell you one thing about this Clemson Tiger team. It just seems that no matter what happens during a game, they don't blink. They just keep grinding away.
They weathered the storm of a 14-3 run by Wake through the course of this second half to take the lead. Now 71-65.
And now they switch back to the man-to-man.
Childress. Crawford, that's a tough one out of the corner as he dribbled and scored. An immediate timeout. 16 points for Crawford in a 4-point game.
That's a very tough shot, but Crawford is a guy who can make tough shots. I think Brad Brownell and his staff switched it up over there, figuring that Danny Manning and his staff were going to talk about how to attack the zone, so they switched to a man-to-man, and Dinkins didn't. They weren't phased at all. They went down and got a basket. The problem for Wake Forest now is you cannot trade points.
So the Tigers trying to improve to 8-3 in conference play, but we still have 29.9 seconds to go.
Obviously, 29.9, so obviously the shot clock is off. The Clemson Tigers do not have to shoot the ball again, so unless the Demon Deacons can create a quick turnover, they must foul.
Tiger fans enjoying the afternoon. Will they continue to enjoy it? 29.9 seconds from now and get their 19th win of the season. Tigers did play in the postseason last year in the NIT, but lost in the first round of that tournament. They could improve to 8-3 in ACC play. 8-3, Dan.
For a team that was picked 13th in the preseason ACC poll.
And they have been awesome at home as well. At Clemson, South Carolina, 12-0 and 5-0 against ACC competition. Danny Manning's team was trying to follow up that solid victory on Wednesday at home against Florida State, 76-72. They made 8 three-pointers in that winning effort. They've made 8 today, but might not be enough against the Tigers. Going to have to get that immediate foul as Reed is going to go back to the free throw line.
And even though he's missed a couple today, Reed is the guy, if you're Brad Brownell, that's who you want at the free throw line. So a nice job by Clemson. Scarra not panicking there. Wait until almost the end of the 5-second count until he can get the ball into Reed.
So Reed has 20 points, Dan. The 7th time this season he's gone for 20 or more. Got his career high against rival South Carolina earlier this year at Littlejohn Coliseum as he got 25 points.
And he's got 16, or now 17 of his 21 in the second half.
13, Brian Crawford.
You just don't have enough time, I don't think, if you're Wake Forest, to do this 2 at a time, particularly if Clemson's going to score 2. You got to come down here and get a quick 3.
22 points for Reed, 24 for DeVoe. Three-pointer, it's a 2, just inside the line from Childress. Mitchell got it, and he got fouled.
And Clemson, a really nice job defensively. They knew that Wake Forest was looking for the three-point shot, so they defended the three-point line, and I don't think Childress realized that he was on the line when he took that shot. But if you're Clemson, look, there's nobody around the basket. They're all out at the three-point area.
Now into the Donovan Mitchell.
Dan, I'm interested in your impressions of what Brad Brownell and his team have been able to do so far this season and get the win on the road today against Wake.
Obviously, they're having a very impressive season, and again, they will now have won 3 of 4 games without Dante Grantham. But they're playing really solid defense, and they've got guys making key plays at important times.
They're on a 12-4 run.
So and that's what you have to do. You have to close, and they closed out this game.
75-67. And the Tigers and Brad Brownell on the road to get the win. Once again, our final score from Winston-Salem, 75-67. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday night as second-rate Virginia takes on Florida State. Coverage begins 7 p.m. For Dan Motter, the rest of our tremendous crew, I'm Tom Wormy. Good afternoon from Tobacco Road, where the Tigers win it over the Demon Deacs, 75-67. And the Tigers and Brad Brownell improved to 19-4 on the season. So long from Winston-Salem.